I want them to impress me. Is Warhammer Fantasy popular in Japan? I didn't think it was.
I'll take this one.
What was the most powerful, dangerous rune the dwarves ever placed on their weapons? Let me think. I would probably say the rune of, oh, hold on, let me see what it's called. There's some master runes that are really nasty. But the worst runes, like the most horrifying runes ever made, were definitely during the, they were during the age of, the War of Reckoning, against the, or sorry, the War of Vengeance against the Elves, because there was a lot of hate put into those runes, rather than being, forged with, there was a lot of nastiness that went into it. That being said, probably, like, the strongest rune? Oh, let's see. I would probably say... I would either say the Master Rune of Smiting or the Master Rune of Skalth Blackhammer. Probably the Master Rune of Smiting. The Master Rune of Smiting is one of, like, the oldest Master Runes in existence. Like, the dwarves aren't even entirely sure who made it. Because it's so ancient.
I still need these.
Like, they don't really have a record of the Rune Lord responsible, but they have the knowledge of how to make the rune, preserved in Kadak Kadrin. And that rune is nasty. I mean, that rune can, like... It can obliterate you easily. If you get hit by a weapon using that rune, you're probably dead. Nah, it's older than Hashit. It's notably older than Hashit. Hashit is a relatively young god as far as his, like, influence on the world is concerned. Yeah, it is the Control-Alt-Delete rune. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Look at all that coin. Powered up. Could check the other passageways before I go.
Skalth Blackhammer's rune is pretty cool. That one is, it's a rune that basically allows the wielder to cut, to, like, wound somebody like they're made out of soft clay. Like, no matter how good the armor you're wearing is, it's gonna wound you. Like, it doesn't matter how tough your hide is, how much armor you're wearing. You could even be wearing magical armor. It's still, like, if somebody strikes you with it, it will deeply wound you. Like, it's gonna hurt you no matter what. Your flesh, your hide, is gonna get pierced, whether you like it or not. The rune of Skalth Blackhammer? Yeah, I know, it's such a mystery who created that rune. If only there was some kind of hint, or if only there was some legend, or maybe, like, they could have put it in the name somehow, but we'll just never know. We'll just never know. Oh, Garanath, have a good night, my dude. Hope you're doing well, man. Lasers.
Time to collect.
What other games do I... Oh! Yes, please. I don't have any abilities that really take advantage of it, but I'm taking it anyway. I can't turn down a legendary. I have a crippling addiction. What other games do I play in my off time? I'm kind of just playing through games one at a time. The next off time game I'm going to be playing is...
Now.
The one with the robot dinosaurs. I keep forgetting the damn name of it.
I can use this.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Thank you. Take that.
Sotek tunnels.
Do I think CA will make sure that Kislev plays different to the Empire? Yeah. I do. And the reason is because, honestly, I don't think CA is going to get, like, a lot of input on how to design Kislev because Games Workshop is doing it. Like, Games Workshop is already making Kislev for Warhammer the Old World. So, like, they've already been busy at work with it. Like, we know they have Bear Cav, and we know that they have the Ice Guard, which are the Czarina's personal guard that have, like... They have spears and arrows that are, like, enchanted with frost magic. So they're, like, an elite archer spear variant that uses frost weapons, which I think is super badass. Is that the Warhammer... Is Warhammer the Old World the fantasy reboot? Yes. The one that was announced, like, over a year ago now, and we haven't heard anything about it in months. Which isn't unexpected, but, you know... I would like to hear more about it. Oh, come on. Doom continuously strikes weak foes. Cool.
Had quite enough here, thanks.
Oh, Roar Shanji. Well, welcome, dude. This is probably a good place for you then. If you're unfamiliar with our community, I'm Lord Master of Sotek. I am the I'm the leading authority on Warhammer Fantasy lore that's not at least officially employed by Games Workshop. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the setting. I do have a YouTube channel where I make videos about the various characters, monsters, creatures, events, geography, etc. Of the universe. And it's what I do for a living. And I have rather extensive knowledge of the universe with a big library about it. And I live to educate people on it. And I've worked with a lot of the companies that do Warhammer Fantasy related things, whether it's Creative Assembly or some of the devs behind some of the other fan projects, yada yada yada. That being said, welcome to my Twitch channel. While we talk about Warhammer literally every single stream on here, technically this is my off hours, so to speak. So this is where I play non-Warhammer games. But when we are doing Warhammer specific stuff, I do stream on YouTube and Twitch simultaneously. So hopefully that gives you some helpful knowledge. Warhammer will never let me have time off. It will when I'm dead. Probably not until then, though, you're right.
More coming.
Give me health! Give me health! Oh jeez, look at all these laser jerks. Anything interesting I can sell? Rorschan. Alright, so let me tell you, your first lesson for Warhammer Fantasy is that Games Workshop is really goofy and they try really hard, even though they often, let's say, are heavily inspired by other fantasy universes. We don't have dwarves, we have dwarfs. For whatever reason, Warhammer Fantasy Dwarves, it's DWARFS rather than VES. But I'm glad you like dwarves. I love dwarves. My favorite faction is Lizardmen, but I adore I love Warhammer Fantasy Dwarves so much. They're such cantankerous jerks.
I can go. It's kind of nice out here.
I get told off in every Warhammer stream. Nah, you're all fine, dude.
Admit, this is a welcome change of pace from all the parchment work.
I try not to harass people about stuff like that. But like, if somebody wants to learn, you know, I'll do my best to set them right on the path. Yeah, that one, and then of course orcs. But hey, at least we're not like 40k. At least we're not like, no, it's orcs with a K. No, ours is orcs with a C. we have the traditional spelling of orcs in fantasy, unlike the 40k crowd. Well, no, we have orcs and AOS, but that's not Warhammer Fantasy, thankfully. I don't mind the orc name, but gosh, is it goofy.
I'm afraid not.
They're cheating. You and your stupid invincibility frames.
Darkness. Darkness.
Where are you, old man?
Prepare. Your mother already begins to call you.
It's called showing affection to your children, Father.
Oh, thank you for the information there.
I love that how when they talk casually during the fight. And you're done.
Just leave it to me, dearest.
You cannot sway me, boy.
There.
Alright, first phase down.
That does it.
No more acorn.
Out of my sight.
Ugh, I love this fight! It's so fun! Boom! He's down.
Were it not for all my wretched kin upon Olympus, you...
I would have found another way to beat you.
Let's do this again.
You started playing the Warhammer Online private server, and I got very confused with the technology levels of the dwarves. Yeah, it's a little all over the place, to be honest. Especially in Warhammer Online, because Warhammer Online added back some of the older dwarf lore, because that Warhammer Online was created during Warhammer Fantasy 6th edition.
The oft-impatient Zagreus appears to take repeated deaths in stride, and so here comes another one for him.
As we've gotten into 8th edition, which 8th edition is like modern Warhammer Fantasy lore, it's what Total War Warhammer is based off of. Total War Warhammer dwarf technology was made a little more consistent to make them a little less wild. They became a little less reliant on Steam technology as we got into 8th edition, but they were able to utilize more like alchemical technology, thanks to rune magic, which is how we got like Iron Drakes, which are, you know, big old flamethrowers and stuff. My new Blood Bowl team, the True Stunties, get out of my chat.
Please make yourselves at home. What happened to Hypnos?
Who knows? No, Nyx, get out of my way! I hate this. I'm glad it lets characters talk to each other, but I hate when I'm like, I need to give a character something. And then it's like, oh, too bad they're talking to somebody else.
I cannot ever repay you for what you have done, O Knight. Know only that it is my honor to continue to serve your pleasure here.
I am certain I know nothing of what you mean, Achilles. Though your continued service here is more than welcome. The honor is mine.
Thank you, O Knight.
Well, so the dwarves are kind of caught between two different forms of advanced technology. They have rune magic, which in like recent times, so say like the last 100 years within Warhammer Fantasy's timeline, the dwarves have started to rely on more extreme forms of technological advancement because they, the big thing is that they have begun to realize that, well, okay, let me start with this first. The dwarves in Warhammer Fantasy have one major limiting weakness. And that weakness is that they have a very conservative society. Dwarves are very stubborn, and they're very, very, very respectful of their ancestors. But they take it too far. To the aspect where instead of just being appreciative of their ancestors, they tend to genuinely believe that everything their ancestors did was like the pinnacle of whatever that is. So like construction, which in some cases they're not wrong, because there was a time when the ancestor gods, which are the gods of the dwarves, walked among them. And during those days, like, their rune crafting was the best it ever was. So like rune crafting lore among the dwarves tends to get weaker as time has passed. So over the thousands, tens of thousands of years, the dwarves have slowly but surely lost a lot of that ancient runic lore, which has caused a lot of their rune magic to become substantially weaker over time. However, in recent times, some of the more conservative dwarves have been putting forth stronger efforts to reclaim a lot of that old lore and find it, so they're starting to pull off some really cool stuff. But the thing is, on the technological side, they run into a problem. Because humans, we know for a fact that as the universe presses forward, it's better to continually invent, innovate, and, continue to improve what you have. And there are dwarves that wish to do that as part of the Engineers Guild. They want to develop more advanced weaponry, more advanced defenses, more advanced construction, more advanced tools. However, in dwarf society, that's viewed as an insult. If you're a dwarf engineer and you say, no, we don't need axes and hammers. I have invented a cog axe that uses mechanical parts and steam components so that it now has cycling teeth that can cut through armor like butter, and it's far stronger than anything we've had before. The problem when you do that is that the Longbeards, who are the most revered ancestors of your society, are going to look at that and they're going to say, hold up, are you saying that what we had before wasn't good enough? Are you saying that our ancestors were stupid? Are you saying that, like, what our ancestors did when they were at the height of their power is not good enough for you? How dare you? And, like, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. So the thing about the dwarves is that in order for them to widely utilize a new form of technology, they basically have to prove, an engineer has to prove over hundreds of years that this new piece of technology is indeed required and is indeed a massive improvement. But he has to be careful, because if he makes a single mistake, he's screwed. So, like, it has to be a flawless piece of technology. You know, kind of like how, like, you think about our history. Like, when you have a tragedy in our world using a piece of technology, say when, like, they were doing the first space shuttles, and then, like, you had the Challenger tragedy, or, like, one of the many other times when a spacecraft had a horrible technological failure and it either failed the mission or cost lives. To the dwarves, that would immediately be, we're done. Like, that piece of technology has failed. It's unreliable. You clearly are out of your mind. You are banished. You're exiled. Your entire clan will be shamed. Your family will never speak about you again. You will not be allowed into the afterlife to be with your ancestors. You are done. So to the dwarves, taking big leaps in technology is, like, really scary. Like, that is a very, very spooky concept to them. And that's why their technology can seem so disjointed. Because sometimes, like, when it comes to gyrocopters and gyrobombers, there have been some really gifted engineers who created a literally flawless machine, and they demonstrated that it does fulfill a need that the dwarves can't do on their own. And it's also incredibly reliable, and while spooky, it should be used. And it basically became accepted widely across the Dwarven Kingdoms. So now they have flying machines that have steam guns and shoot giant missiles and can drop explosive bombs. Which, when you're like, wait, hold on, are these the same guys that, like, refuse to even use halberds? Is Barden's new steam gun and steampunk arm enough to get him exiled? Yes, 100%. Well, the steam, the mechanical arm, like the augmented arm, he could get away with that, though some of the dwarves would be like, But the rotary gun, the steam powered fast shooting gun, oh yeah, he would be immediately excommunicated from the Engineers Guild. Like, he would have been banished in a heartbeat. Not even a question.
Excuse me, sorry, I just have to file this report. It's very late.
Thought I had you there.
But that's why he's an outcast engineer.
It seems Achilles had a complicated arrangement with your father. I understand you simplified things for the better there, and he was able to visit Elysium at last. Well done.
Are there any notable banished engineers in the lore? Yeah, Malachi Makason, the Slayer engineer.
Thank you. He more than deserved it.
For him, he took being a Slayer as an excuse where he's like, all right, well, I don't have to listen to the Engineers Guild anymore. I can make up my own thing. Yeah, there's a lot of banished engineers in the Empire. They tend not to just die. Like, a lot of them are like, all right, screw it. There's also a really famous one. Hold on, let me find it. There is a particularly humorous one who invaded Lustria when he got banished. Let me find it. It was a long time ago, but Let's see if I can find it. Let's see, the Volcano Gods, the Slaughter at Zlonhapek, the Battle of the Black Sun. Here it is. Yeah, in 2355, so that was roughly 200 years ago, the Battle of Cholulek. The disgraced dwarf engineer Sven Hasselfrisian, man, that's a mouthful. Sven Hasselfrisian, there you go. He set out from Barakvar using his steam-powered ship, and he made it all the way to Lustria after fighting a lot of big sea monsters. And he had a whole crew with him, and they ended up battling the lizardmen in one of the ruins, and like down one of the river Amexon. He didn't die in that. He didn't die in those battles, but I believe he had one of the earliest instances of a fully steam-powered ironclad. Would have been more useful if he joined the lizardmen. Yeah, well, unfortunately, he decided to try and loot all their stuff. Because dwarves are like, ooh, gold. And the lizardmen were like, yeah, don't touch that.
As you can see, I must attend to all this parchment work.
Take care, Father. Work approved. Perhaps Death Incarnate would like to take a load off every now
Ooh,
and then.
money!
Thanatos would never sit down on the job.
Here's the fee. A fine hallway requires a fine rug, I always say. I say it sometimes.
Meddling with rugs again, are we?
We're so close to being done with the West Hall.
Oh, don't worry, I'll be back in fighting shape in no time, Zach.
Good catching up. Here's all I caught.
Hey, I'll take 40
Always a
gems.
pleasure.
What do you got for me, broker? Garbage. That's what you have for me. We can buy a new piece of music. Musica.
I think we'll go with this. More music for the music stand is always good.
Anything interesting about chameleon skinks? Oh yeah, dude. So here's a fun thing about chameleon skinks. Did you know they were actually an extinct species of lizardmen for thousands of years? The chameleon skinks basically went extinct after a little ways. I want to say it was roughly around the end of the war with the Skaven that they stopped spawning. Oh yeah, so you do know that. Okay, let me see if I can get a different one for you. Did you know that Oxiodal murdered a greater demon of Zinch by himself? Like, one-on-one.
It's never bedtime here.
It's true. It was during the battle of Hexawaddle. The great battle. Oh, you're right. It was when Pawhawks vanished. But yes, there was a greater demon of Zinch who was attempting to summon a massive horde of demons to aid Vashnar the Tormentor in his siege of Hexawaddle. But while he was busy making his preparations to summon it, the demon was all of a sudden like, wait. Like, he was like, wait, I sense a disturbance in the Force. And Oxiodal went, and he was dead.